Namaste. It's Michelle Lee Skaletski-Boyd, your soul journey guide, here with you for the Be Your Own Intuitive Crossing the Veil in Confidence course. Congratulations. You have made it all the way to the final module. So you've done your best to do your inner work, and I so appreciate that. Today, really get a feel for today in terms of where you're going. You might remember the very first trimester, we started out with self-awareness, and it was about the science of the energy fields, and it helped prepare you to go into those guided meditations. And then in the second module, we really did some deepening of your connections, how to deepen that connection with higher self. You began to viscerally learn and experience those specific methods of centering and grounding, and you received some logical step-by-step instructions on what to do if you were feeling lost or stuck or overwhelmed. We then moved into the auric field, and you got a sense of what it meant to play in the masculine energies and the feminine energies, and how that interplays and integrates into your own life. Experiential techniques to help you see how you are perceiving your own personal energies and whether or not you're stuck in your head all the time. It's a great deal about letting go of what it is that we had formerly perceived, that old pattern, that old comfort zone that we were in, letting our little self get out of the way so that our big self could begin to take over. In Module 4, we began to move through those hesitancies, and we began to exchange any of those insecurities and fears for the feeling of courage and confidence. For some of you, self-trust was where you spent and focused so much of your time. So it was here that I gave a lot of different support. There was a lot more videos so that depending on where you were, you could kind of peel back the layers and begin to notice where you were needing a little bit of surrender and where you could begin to let go. So any type of self-sabotage was removed. Then we moved into clear surrender, kind of coming at it from a different way. We began to do some deep release work, and if you had any type of scattered energies, any fragmented energies, we began to call them back, removing blocks and clearing any distrust, eliminating some of those old conditioned beliefs. So by now, you really had a feel and a sense between what was yours and what was not yours. And then we moved into soul transformation. And Cynthia walked everyone through that beautiful integration process. And this was when you recognized that as you move back into the natural patterning, the natural blueprint of your soul, you then could begin to recognize what type of soul needs did you take when you first came into creation. And so there was some interviews, a bonus interview on that soul needs of personalities. And many of you appreciated that and enjoyed that, learning from our special guests, and how now as you move through your blueprint, you can begin to perceive things differently so that you begin to expand your awareness and step into full self-trust. We then moved into the final semester, which was all around self-acceptance. And self-acceptance had everything to do with your ultimate spiritual tools. So this is where you really stepped fully into who you are. This is where you began to move into those higher states of consciousness and intellectually began to know that you are a spiritual being having a human experience, and that you could begin to feel what it feels like to be in the now, to be in the present. This is the point on the journey where you begin to receive your ultimate spiritual yes and your ultimate spiritual no. We move then into that perfect practice where we began to turn things up. We enhanced it, we increased it, we maximized it, we color coded it, we gave it a sensation. All of you are a little bit unique in that regard. Some of you chose to skip that module because you weren't really having any issues with your spiritual yes and no. I want to remind you that it is there should you get hung up at all. Then we moved into really getting to know your spirit guide, the one that was assigned specifically for you for this particular purpose. And this is where you learned who this master guide was And for some of you, it was more of a knowing. For some of you, it was more of a sound or a sensation. And some of you did receive visual confirmation where it felt more like a feminine energy or a masculine energy. And for some of you, it felt really somewhere in between. It was really the opportunity for you to learn the preferred communication between the two of you so that you could begin to develop this trusted companionship as you cross the veil. And then in Module 11, you did just that. Your spirit had this beautiful renewal. You appreciated the silence. You appreciated the fact that you were able to have your own journey. So today what we're going to be doing is you're going to cross the veil once more with the help and the assistance of your master guide. This time you're going to expand into the different levels of energies. Now, from a hierarchical perspective, some of you might say that this very first level would be the afterlife in terms of communicating with those who have passed on, your loved ones. And then maybe some of you would say the angels who have walked the earth before, or the spirit guides who have been here. And then perhaps the ascended masters or the archangels who have never taken human form. And you want to be able to ascend into the intergalactic energies. Our brain usually needs something to wrap around. Whatever it is for you, just recognize and know that wherever you're being called to go, at whatever dimension or level that your spirit would like to go and to expand into, that there will be just a little bit more guidance today in terms of me giving you some ideas. Because for some of you, that's pretty invaluable. You do need a little bit of nudge so that you don't fall asleep per se, or you need a little bit more guidance specifically around how to connect with your loved one who has passed on. Most of you really had beautiful experiences in terms of connecting with yourself, connecting with your truth, integrating with who you are. And some of you have even had some really good experiences with your master guide. However, when you wanted to connect with a son, a daughter, a spouse, a loved one, a parent, a grandparent, a best friend, someone who has passed over, who's on the other side, is when it got a little personal. So this particular module is going to focus primarily on that. However, for those of you who don't feel like you need that particular guidance, there will be an opportunity for you to move not only into that afterlife realm where the loved ones do reside, but you'll be given the opportunity to ascend beyond that as well, should you wish. And the reason that I've created this module in this way is so that you can go back and you can move through the experience again and again, be it in your knowingness, in your awareness, or simply by recreating it for yourself. We're going to begin by doing a little bit of reminders in terms of the best way to connect with loved ones. So when it comes to connecting with someone who has died, I just want to remind everyone that it's important that your energies be in a place of neutrality. Now, this is important because if you're in a place of grief, loved ones oftentimes, and again, through my truth, through my experience, is they often do bypass all those stuck energies at some point. And so for us to hold them in the memory of the suicide, or the memory of their depression, or the memory of the accident, or the drug overdose, or whatever it was, if we hold them in those energies, then we're really not doing them a favor, and we're not doing ourselves a favor, because people really do move on. And that's why I like to go with this idea and with this belief and with this deep truth knowingness that our loved ones are in a better place. And if you also believe that, then I encourage you to move through this module and this meditation when you are in a place of, at the very least, neutrality. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes talking about Dr. David Hawkins. He's no longer with us here physically on the earth. Dr. Hawkins was brilliant in the fact that he was both an MD and had his PhD. And he wrote several books. And one of the books was Power versus Force. And in this book, he created what's called a map of consciousness. And the map of consciousness was really him going and doing different scientific studies around the calibrations of people, specifically people, places, and things. And the map of consciousness talks about how we as a collective generally will calibrate when it comes to emotions, when it comes to feelings. And this map of consciousness you can find in the book, but I'm just going to point out a few things. So the very smallest calibration on the map itself is the energy of shame. And so some of you who came in, you had some energies of shame due to an accident that occurred with your loved one where you felt like you were involved. There might have been some shame around the very last things that you said to your loved ones before they passed, or even something that occurred between the two of you not long before they moved on. So this idea of shame and humiliation and that misery and that despising of what occurred, Dr. Hawkins had measured that in terms of calibration to be right around 20. So I want you to get a feel for that for a moment and then notice the calibration of love. So love as in reverence, as in revelation, as in this feeling of being in that space of total acceptance, which is what this trimester is all about, calibrates out of 500. So if you're still stuck in energies like shame or guilt or apathy or grief or fear, or you're afraid, or you feel disappointed, or you're vengeful, or you're demanding, all of these energies are calibrating around 175 and lower. I went up the scale with each one that I named. And so it's very important that you recognize that to be in a place of neutrality will at least be better than shame or guilt or disappointment. Why we want to be in neutrality is because neutrality is where self-trust resides. And that calibrates about a 250. And when we're calibrating at a 250, we certainly can raise our energies a lot easier than if we're calibrating at around a 20. Okay? So before you do this module, go outside, earth, stretch, move, do a cleanse, do whatever is going to raise your vibrations a little higher. Go through some of the past modules that might have been helpful, and then we can begin. Okay, so here we go. Heaven awaits. This idea of heaven and heaven on earth. Remember, heaven is inside of you. It's inside of me. It's a place where we can choose to dwell. It's where Rumi said, I will meet you there. It's this beautiful location in terms of energy that we can all achieve and receive at any point in time. And where I'd like for you to begin is to begin in an energy of remembering. Many of you do have beautiful memories of your loved one, and that particular memory can act like a gateway to open up the door to your loved one, because they also have a memory of you. And by setting the intention of your loved one and remembering them, be it a smell, or being it their voice, or how they sang, or the food they like to cook you, or how it is that they looked when they woke up in the morning, or their hugs, anything that can bring you into their energy can be helpful. So if you're a parent, for example, who has lost a child, and you keep going back to their apartment or into their room, and you're looking at all of their things, and you're sitting on their bed, and you start to have these memories of them, those particular memories can be very helpful. Now, if you have moved on, your child's stuff has been either given away, donated, or you've only kept a few things, no worries, you still have the memory, do you not? You still have the memory in your head. Now, here's what happens from my experience, having worked with thousands of people around the globe, particularly in helping them over 4 years' time. When I was named Best Psychic Medium, many people had lost their loved one. and many people came to me for assistance as a soul journey guide. And what I found is oftentimes people will stay in that memory and they won't leave the memory because they want their loved one to still be that in that time frame, still be that age, still be that particular vibration. So we don't want to keep them there, okay, in our mind, but we do want to use it as a launch pad. So set that intention for yourself, is to use it as a launch pad, whatever that is. So maybe we have a memory of the perfume that our mother wore or the cologne our father wore, right? Whatever that smell is. Or maybe we remember our grandmother's kitchen and the different smells of cookies or homemade spaghetti sauce or whatever, correct? And so perhaps it's gathering with family members at a specific holiday. Whatever that memory is, that's what I'm going to have you go into. When you go into that memory, I'm going to ask you and guide you to start to recall and remember certain events, recalling those past memories. In the shamanic world, drumming is referred to as underworld energies. And when we're in that energy, we're really going into the past. And in order for us to create a memory for ourselves, we're going to go into the underworld to bring back that memory as though it was happening now. And then what will happen is you're going to hear me play one of my beautiful bowls here. It's a nice singing bowl. And as I play that, that's going to give you the opportunity to move into the afterlife with your particular guide. And as you move into that world with your guide, you'll be there with your loved ones, and I will be guiding you accordingly. And then if you want to stay there, you certainly can. But when you hear me play it a second time, you certainly can ascend even higher if you wish. And again, this is all based on personal preference. Perhaps you want to move into the world of meeting your main spirit guides around you, your spiritual team, perhaps, your collective angels. And then I will give the opportunity with one more round, the third and final round. You can go up into the intergalactic realms. You can meet your creator, God source, get a glimpse or feel for what that feels like, your ascended masters, whatever works for you. Everybody has different belief systems. Everyone has a different way of receiving. And so whatever's in your heart, you all have taken this course for a reason. And whatever your original intentions were, if they weren't actually met at this point, then really get clear now about what it is that you desire, and I will guide you accordingly. All right, so we're going to start by taking some nice deep breaths. And we're going to set the space by calling in your spiritual team and asking for help. Remember, we need to ask. It's important you remember the basics, which is always to ask. Ask for guidance and assistance. And of course, do an energy field check. And as you feel your center, notice that it's important that you ground into your intention and ground into the energies of God Source's love and light. So ground into the now, ground into love, ground into your body, ground into the energies of Mother Earth, and trust the energies of Father Sky. And allow those energies to begin to integrate and spiral with the breath. Recall your journey of this course. Recall where you had been and where you are now. And begin to remember what brought you confidence. Begin to remember energies of love that opened up your center, that moved you into your place of power. hold that energy and that knowingness once again. So as I drum, continue to notice your breath, call in your spiritual team, and begin to sit with the memory of your loved one in the best way that you know how. Just take notice in your memory and recall what you might have been wearing, what your loved one might have been wearing. Notice if it was daytime or nighttime. Were you indoors or outdoors? Recall the temperature and any sounds. Be aware of any smells, scents, aromas. And what did it feel like to be in this memory? Allow it to be good. Now imagine that your master guide has a portal. This portal could be a color or a doorway, a window. Just notice however it is that your higher self is leading you. And this particular portal is going to allow you and your memory of your loved one to travel through the portal of time. So allow that memory of you and your loved one to begin to fill with light. That light represents this portal as though you were standing right in the center of the portal between the memory, which represents the past, and the now, which represents this moment. As it shines its brilliant light on you and your loved one, notice the temperature. Notice how there's even a part of you at a deep level that recognizes that this particular memory is now being highlighted. It's being highlighted in such a way that your soul recognizes it as an entry point. slowly, as I count backwards from 20 to 1, allow the light to completely fill you from head to toe. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You and your master guide are in the portal with the memory. Notice how this feels. And slowly, as I count from 1 to 5, give yourself permission now to begin to move to a sacred space that represents the afterlife. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Land gently now into a sacred space. The memory of your loved one transitions now into present reality. Notice what it feels like to be in the energy of your loved one again. Your loved one, for a moment, will step back out of your energy field. Notice what it feels like to be in your own energy. Move your awareness from the top of your head down to your toes once again. Notice your own temperature, your own expansion, your breath. And now slowly your loved one will come into your energy field. Notice where you're feeling it. If it's on the left side or the right, if it's in front of you or behind you. Be aware if it's above you or below you, in front of you, in the back of you. Loved one is stepping out once again, clear. Returning to your breath. Loved one steps back in. Notice where you're feeling it the most and acknowledge it. Loved one stepping out for just a moment. Use your spiritual yes or spiritual no to get a confirmation that what you're receiving is correct. And when you're ready, allow your loved one back in. Now take a moment and notice how this loved one wants to communicate with you. You can set up a language with your loved one. In other words, ask your loved one, what can our signal be, our sign be for yes? What can our signal, our sign be for no? At any time, you can clear your field and start again. Or you can allow your loved one to continue to be in your field as you receive, accept, and allow any intuitive information coming in. Remember, when you say clear, your loved one knows to step out of your energy field completely. You then go back to a place of centeredness. Do a scan of your own field to feel your energy, and simply allow your loved one back in when it feels good to you. Notice if you're aware of where your loved one has chosen to meet with you. Notice if it feels like you're indoors or outdoors. Notice if you can pick up on the temperature. Any sights, colors, sensations, feelings, sounds. Notice where your loved one is taking you. Enjoy the journey. Should you wish to stay, please stay. Should you wish to move on, please move on. Notice now where you are. Be aware of your surroundings and the field of energy that you're in. As you smile from your center, be aware of the spiritual being in your presence. Notice if this energy feels masculine or feminine. Notice if this energy feels like a wise spirit, a youthful spirit. Notice how it feels. Continue to receive from your center. Continuing to get comfortable in this sacred space. Notice any messages, choose to stay where you are and continue to receive, or allow yourself to expand and journey once again. Continuing to keep it nice and bright, looking through your own eyes, listening through your own ears. Being aware of your feet. Perceiving from your center. Be open to receive from your place of centeredness. Trust what's coming in. Asking your higher self, why am I here? allowing the answer to come in crystal clear. Enjoy the journey. Knowing you can meet this beautiful spirit again and again, whenever it is you desire. Just simply notice the entry point, how you best connect. And any last messages that you and your spiritual being wish to send. Sending gratitude now in all directions. emitting love. Healing. Compassion. Slowly beginning to returning to that beautiful portal, held in love and grace by your master guide, taking with you all of the newfound knowledge. As I slowly count backwards from 3 to 1, becoming aware of your body again. 3, soon wanting to stretch and to move and to open your eyes. 2, slowly rotating your ankles and your wrists. 1, whenever you're ready, eyes awake. Welcome back. Congratulations on completing this Crossing the Veil in Confidence, Being Your Own Intuitive Medium course. I congratulate you on the journey, and I appreciate your love and your light. Continue to go within, and remember, enjoy the experience, come what may. Namaste.